Hey, I'm Cornelis, and this is Your Band is a Business, the place where I discuss the day-to-day realities of being an independent musician. Today, I want to talk about two things. The first is my current Submithub strategy, which has helped me get added to 14 Spotify playlists. And the second is a cool content creation opportunity that has been presented to myself, which might be of some inspiration to you. Now, let's start with Submithub. So, in case you don't know, Submithub is a platform that allows you to apply to be added to Spotify playlists. So, you message Spotify playlist curators, and they will then consider whether or not to add you to their platform, to their playlist. Now, in the past, I've never had luck with that, but my latest single was added by somebody to a playlist, and I thought, okay, let me push this a bit more. And I've been added to 14 playlists so far. So if you want to know how I did that, why I think I was accepted, then check out my previous video about that. Now, what that has meant is that I am currently sitting at 373 monthly listeners on Spotify, whereas only a couple of weeks ago I broke through 200 for the first time. Now, I understand that playlist listeners are going to be passive listeners mostly, right? They just choose a playlist and they put some music on in the background, and they might not be very engaged compared to other kinds of listeners that are deliberately seeking me out. But there are two reasons why I think it is a good thing to be added to these kinds of playlists. The first is that there will be a percentage, even though it might be a small percentage, some people will hopefully hear my music and think, hey, that sounds good. I want to know who made that song, and they will check out my artist profile and listen to some of my other music. Now, out of a couple of hundred people, it might only be 5 or 10, but that's a win in my book. But the second more important reason for being on these playlists is in order to feed the algorithms, right? Because the Spotify, Apple Music, all these different platforms, they they need to get data to figure out what genre my music fits in, who my ideal listeners are in terms of their demographics, right? Their age and their location, and what time of day they listen to music, and what other artists they like to listen to. So the more data I can provide it with, the better. And an indication that this is happening is when you look at my popularity score. So the popularity score is a score that Spotify keeps track of for all the songs that are on Spotify, and I've never reached higher than 2 or 3% for any track. But my latest single, Passion is Aggression, the last time I checked, it stood at 9% popularity score. So that means that I am being put in front of the right people that are enjoying my music, and the fact that I'm being added to playlists, that in itself also increases the popularity score. And I think if you can get above 30%, then you have a higher chance of being pushed out on algorithmic playlists like Discover Weekly and things like that. Now, I'm a long way away from that still, and I assume that it gets harder each percentage point that you go up, but it's a start. And like I said, I've never reached this high before, so that's great. Now, I am changing my Submithub strategy somewhat. As I said, check on my previous video to see what I did the first time around. But what I will say today is that I focused on the playlists that had a high acceptance rate, right? And that meant that I was accepted to 44% of all the playlists that I applied to, which is great. But now I've exhausted the low-hanging fruit, as it were, and now I'm targeting the playlists that have a an acceptance rate of 15% or lower, and I avoided those the first time around. Now, I don't know for sure, but I would not be surprised if the playlist curators on Submithub have insight into uh, your score on the hot or not section of the website, and I would not be surprised if they also have insight into how many playlists you've been accepted for. So, my strategy, as it were, when I first realized, oh, I've been accepted organically, as it were, to a playlist. Somebody found me on the hot or not billboard on Submithub. They liked what they heard, added me to a playlist. I then went after the playlist curators that had a fairly good acceptance rate. I got accepted to 13, 14 playlists, right? Now I'm going after the more challenging ones, the playlist curators that do not accept as much music. And hopefully, the success I've had so far will be an indication for them to give me a chance, right? Now, as I said, these playlists have a lower acceptance rate, so my overall acceptance rate will undoubtedly drop, but hopefully it will be worth it with an increase in traffic towards my music if I do get added to some playlists. Now, Submithub shows you an estimate of how many monthly listeners you can expect to get from the playlists that you've been accepted to. And last time I looked, it said something between 800 and 1200 monthly listeners. Now, I think that's an overestimation, and I think the reality will be lower. But who knows? Fingers crossed, if I can get onto one or two of these more elite playlists, who knows, maybe I can break through 750 or 1000 monthly listeners. Now, as I said earlier, I understand that these types of listeners are lower engaged listeners. It's not the same as somebody that discovers you through social media or sees you performing a gig. I understand it's different. To some extent it's a vanity metric, but as I said, what if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of all those people get converted to becoming a real fan of me? And what if all this data that I'm feeding Spotify and YouTube and the other playlists, what if that contributes to me being pushed out a little bit more to new people? That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so that's it for the Submithub strategy. I will keep you up to date on what's going on and whether or not I get accepted to any of these other playlists. The second thing I want to talk about is something, well, previously I spoke about organizing gigs, and I was having trouble with that, and a gig got cancelled. Now, I've been emailing and messaging, and it looks like I've been able to reorganize a band gig for the 30th of April. And on top of that, two other things have happened. So the first is that at an open mic night recently, I met a guy from Germany who works at a pub where they have live music, and he said, I would like to fly you over to Germany so that you can perform in my pub. And I said, hey, why not? And today we've just finalized that. So that is happening at the start of May. So he is paying for me to fly over there and to perform at the venue. And as well as that, I've been speaking to my producer in Vilnius in Lithuania, and we were talking about some extra work that I need to do. So I need to re-record some vocals. Now, on top of that, he also runs a live music event there, and I thought, okay, that would be a good opportunity to go over there and perform there as well. So that is happening as well. So what is happening is that at the end of April, I'm going to go to Vilnius in Lithuania. I'm going to work on some music. I'm going to play a gig there. Then I'm coming back to London. I will be hosting a night at the Map Studio Cafe in Kentish Town on the Monday, and then on Wednesday I will be performing a gig with my band at the Madden's Bar in East Finchley. So that's happening on the 30th. And then on the weekend, I will be playing in Germany, in Cologne. So basically, I'm going to be doing 3 gigs in 3 countries within a week, roughly. So not only is that great in terms of, wow, somebody is flying me over to Germany to perform there. That's great in itself, in of itself. And then I get a chance to visit my friend, and we can make some music and work on the next singles. And I get to perform a gig there as well. But also, this is kind of a challenge in a way, right? Three gigs in 3 countries within a week. So I'm going to make sure that I take lots of footage so that I can put together a really cool piece of content, a mini documentary, as it were. The challenge of doing 3 gigs in 3 countries within a week, and I'm sure there will be adventures along the way. Who knows? Hopefully, nothing will go wrong. But yeah, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to pack a couple of gigs into a week in 3 different countries, take lots of footage, and it's going to be a great piece of content for YouTube and all the other platforms. So maybe that will give you some inspiration for yourself about it's playing a gig, unfortunately, isn't the most interesting thing anymore when it comes to all the things that you can watch and experience online, right? But 3 gigs in 3 different countries, how many people do that, right? That might be interesting. So I'm really looking forward to it from a personal point of view, to get out there and play for people, but also I'm really excited about the opportunity that I can get out of this. I just need to make sure to shoot a lot of footage. The one tip that I can give when it comes to those kinds of things is to shoot a lot more than you think. Shoot double, triple, whatever you think, because when it comes to editing, you always wish that you could have more footage. Anyway, that's just my update. Let me know what's going on with you and your music, and let's all help each other reach our music goals. I will speak to you guys next time.